I'm Amanda Caldwell, 32, and the night my husband vanished from our home, I didn't shed a single tear. He left behind a note on the counter, cold, final, full of arrogance, and walked out believing I'd crumble without him. But what he never realized was that every key to his kingdom, every ounce of power he claimed, was built on my name. 3 days later, he was the one begging to be heard, his world collapsing with every locked account and frozen card. What began as his escape turned into my awakening, and by the time he understood who really held the reins, it was already too late. The first thing I noticed when I stepped into the house that night wasn't the silence, it was the absence. The absence of sound, of scent, of warmth. The faint hum of the refrigerator seemed to echo like an accusation. The lights were dim, casting long shadows across the marble counters he had insisted on installing, calling them a symbol of our success. His success, he used to say, as if I'd merely been the spectator to his climb. And there it was, folded neatly beside an empty coffee mug and a half-burned candle, the note. "I'm done. Don't try to contact me. You'll never survive without me." The handwriting was unmistakably his, clean, precise, self-assured. Every curve of ink looked like a signature of arrogance. For a moment, I just stared at it, waiting for the anger, the shock, the heartbreak that movies promise in moments like these. But none of that came. Instead, something unexpected happened. I laughed. Not the polite laugh I wore at his corporate dinners, nor the nervous laugh that used to fill the gaps between his insults. This was a deep, unrestrained laugh that echoed against the hollow walls. Because what he didn't know, what he never bothered to understand, was that everything he called his was, in fact, mine. I remember when we first opened the joint business account. He said it would be simpler if everything went through my name, better credit, easier approvals, fewer questions. He had smiled, kissed my forehead, and told me how much he trusted me. It sounded romantic back then. Now it felt poetic. Every car payment, every house upgrade, every shiny toy he flaunted was tethered to my signature, my identity, my credit line. I took the note and placed it neatly in the drawer with the warranty papers for the car he drove. It seemed fitting, another document confirming ownership. That night, I didn't cry. I poured myself a glass of water, changed into pajamas, and slept like a woman finally free of background noise. By morning, the house felt oddly peaceful. The quiet wasn't heavy anymore, it was clean. The sun streamed through the windows, catching on the gold edges of the framed photos he'd left behind. I didn't take them down. Not yet. Every picture of him laughing, posing, pretending those were trophies now. Proof that I'd survived every version of him. I brewed coffee, the way he used to hate it, black and strong, and opened my laptop. My inbox was full of shared account notifications, monthly updates, and company expense summaries. I knew the pattern of his transactions better than my own breathing. The expensive lunches with clients, the endless charges for networking, the impulsive online purchases when his ego needed stroking. I smiled as I clicked through the tabs, confirming everything was still active under my authority. Then I logged into the corporate management portal. The account name blinked at me. Caldwell Consulting LLC, registered owner, Amanda Caldwell. My name, my license, my business. He had been the face. I had been the foundation. When he walked away, he took only what could fit in his pride. 3 days passed. Long enough for silence to become comfortable, for the air to smell like something new, freedom, maybe. I hadn't heard a word from him. No emails, no calls. I assumed he was enjoying his grand exit, probably at a hotel, telling some bartender about how he had to get out before she dragged him down. I could almost picture it, his confident smirk, the way he'd lower his voice to sound mysterious. But on the third morning, everything changed. My phone began buzzing before sunrise. Once, then twice, then again. By the fifth call, I glanced at the screen. His name, declined. A minute later, another ring. Then a text. "Amanda, pick up. We need to talk. Please." Another. "Something's wrong with the accounts. I can't access my cards." I sipped my coffee and stared at the messages, each one more frantic than the last. They froze everything. The company said there's a licensing issue. My car, Amanda, the car's been repossessed. What's happening? The part of me that used to flinch at his tone, the demanding, controlling one, was gone. In its place was a calm curiosity. He sounded small now, like someone stripped of armor. By noon, he had called 17 times. That evening, while scrolling through the security camera feed, I saw him. Standing outside the gate in a wrinkled shirt, his tie missing, his expression a mix of disbelief and panic. He pressed the intercom button over and over. Amanda, please, just talk to me. There's been a mistake. I didn't move. I just watched. It wasn't revenge that thrilled me, it was revelation. To see him, the man who once lectured me about independence, now begging at the gate of a house titled under my name. He stayed there for nearly 10 minutes before walking away, phone pressed to his ear. Moments later, I got another text. They fired me. The company found out the business credit was under your name. Amanda, please. I'm ruined. I didn't reply. Not yet. I wanted the silence to stretch, to sink into him the way his words once sank into me. That night, as rain tapped against the windows, I sat on the couch with a glass of water and the phone glowing beside me. Another message came through. I messed up. You were right. I shouldn't have left. Please, let me explain. I typed slowly, letting each word settle before sending. You said I wouldn't survive without you. Turns out, you can't survive without me. The morning after his last message started like any other. Quiet, clean, deliberate. I made coffee, checked my emails, and ignored the 30 missed calls sitting like red dots of satisfaction on my phone screen. But as I scrolled, something unusual caught my attention, a notification from the security company. Motion detected. 6:12 a.m. front gate. I switched to the live feed. There he was again. Same man, but this time stripped of the expensive polish he used to wear like armor. His hair was uncombed, his eyes restless. He was pacing, mumbling, checking his phone, staring at the house as if it were a locked vault holding his life inside. I didn't answer the intercom. I just watched him. He finally walked away after a few minutes, shoulders slumped, phone glued to his ear. Within seconds, mine buzzed. Amanda, please. I need to talk to you. I'm serious. I don't have access to anything. My accounts, my email, even my phone plan, it's all gone. Please, just let me in. His voice used to control rooms. Now, it cracked under pressure. I typed back one sentence. You built your empire on my foundation. It's not my fault it collapsed. Then I blocked his number. By noon, my phone lit up again, this time with a call from my attorney, Daniel. Calm voice, sharp mind, and the only person who knew every thread of what my husband had done. He's trying to challenge the business ownership, Daniel said, claiming you forged his approval when you registered under your name. We both know that's not true, but I thought you'd want to be aware. Let him try, I replied. Every document, every signature, he had me do it. He just didn't bother reading what he signed. Daniel chuckled softly. That's what arrogance buys you. You need me to file a restraining order. Not yet. Let him dig his own hole first. Later that day, I drove to the office building we used to share. The lobby receptionist gave me a look that mixed surprise with admiration. Mrs. Caldwell. I mean, Miss Caldwell now, right? I nodded. You can drop the Mrs. The elevator ride to the top floor felt surreal. The glass doors still had both our initials etched into them, though his name was now partially peeled off. Inside, the staff looked tense. Some whispered when I entered, others pretended to focus on their screens. Word travels fast when a company's figurehead implodes. In his office, the one with the skyline view he loved bragging about, his desk was empty except for a few scattered folders. A photo of us, the last remnant of his pretense, sat face down. I didn't pick it up. The operations manager stepped in nervous. We got a call from Mr. Caldwell earlier. He tried to access payroll. IT locked him out. Said he was no longer authorized. Good, I said. Keep it that way. If he contacts anyone else here, forward it directly to legal. I left the building to the sound of phones ringing, probably him again, trying to find cracks in a wall that had already sealed. That night, the messages started coming from new numbers. Unknown senders, all variations of the same tone. You don't understand what's happening. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. They're taking everything, Amanda. Please, I need you. One text stood out. You think you won, but you'll regret this. I didn't respond, but I screenshotted every word and sent them to Daniel. Within minutes, he replied, "Good call. Keep documenting." He's unraveling. By the third day of silence, I thought maybe it was over, that he'd finally accepted defeat. But the peace didn't last. Around midnight, a car engine roared outside my gate. I looked out the window. Headlights glared through the rain. He was back. He got out, drenched, pounding the gate like someone trying to break into a memory. "Amanda, I know you're in there. You can't just erase me." I didn't move, didn't speak. I just turned on the exterior lights. The flood of white hit his face, revealing the panic beneath his anger. For a long moment, he froze. Then his voice cracked again. "You ruined me." "No," I whispered to myself. "You ruined yourself." He stood there for a while, chest heaving, before stumbling back to his car and driving off. The sound of his tires sliding against the wet pavement was the only goodbye I needed. The next morning, Daniel called again. He tried to file for company access in your name. They flagged it as fraud. Police might get involved if he keeps pushing. Let them, I said. He built his empire on borrowed credibility. Now it's just debt and desperation. You realize he's probably not going to stop quietly. I don't expect him to. I hung up and looked around the house. The silence didn't feel like emptiness anymore. It felt earned. Every echo was proof of distance between who I was and who he thought I'd always be. The last thing I did that evening was open my email. One unread message waited at the top of the inbox. Subject line, from him. No address I recognized, no name attached. Just those words. Against better judgment, I clicked. There was no message, only a video file. The thumbnail showed him sitting in his car, looking tired, defeated. I hesitated for a second, then pressed play. "Hey," he said, voice low, steady. "You win. Congratulations." I just wanted to say, I didn't mean to hurt you. I was angry, scared, whatever you want to call it. But you didn't have to destroy everything. He paused, running a hand through his hair. You think this is justice? It's not. You're going to realize that power doesn't fill the space I left. You'll miss me eventually. And when you do, I won't be here to answer. The video stayed in my mind longer than I expected. Not because of what he said, but because of how ordinary he looked, small, unpolished, like a man stripped of everything that made him feel significant. I thought deleting it would end the story, but closure rarely asks for permission. 3 days later, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it until I saw the caller ID, Officer Reynolds. "Mrs. Caldwell? This is Detective Reynolds from the county police. We need to speak with you about your husband." I stood still. Ex-husband. He cleared his throat. Right. Ex-husband. There's been an incident. We found his vehicle early this morning near the coast. It appears he drove off the side road into the barrier. No other vehicles involved. He survived, but he's in critical condition. The words hung in the air like dust after an explosion. I didn't say anything for a moment. Was it intentional? I finally asked. We're not certain. He'd been drinking, according to the medical report. There was a phone on the passenger seat with several unsent messages. One of them was addressed to you. I see. We'd like you to come down to the hospital. He listed you as his emergency contact. Of course he did. He always assumed I'd still be there when everything fell apart. When I arrived, the hospital smelled like disinfectant and rain-soaked asphalt. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as a nurse led me down a quiet hallway. He was in room 317, attached to more wires than I could count. His face was pale, lips dry, eyes closed. The rise and fall of his chest was the only proof he was still tethered to this world. The nurse whispered, "He's awake sometimes, but he hasn't spoken much. You can stay a few minutes." I nodded, stepping closer. His eyes opened slowly. For the first time, he didn't look angry. He looked human. "Amanda," he said weakly. "You came. Only because they called me." He gave a faint smile. Figures. The silence that followed carried the weight of every argument, every betrayal, every carefully rehearsed lie. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad," he said. "I just wanted control back." "You took everything." "No," I said quietly. "You gave it all away. I just stopped holding it for you." His eyes glistened, a mix of regret and disbelief. "You think you're free now?" "Without me." "I don't think," I replied. "I know." He looked away, breathing unevenly. "They're saying I might not walk again. Funny, isn't it? I used to run everything. Now I can't even move." There was no satisfaction in hearing it. Just a heavy kind of truth that settled between us like the final chapter of a book that had already told its story. He turned his head slightly. "I kept something for you. Drawer in my office. Bottom left. Envelope with your name on it. Take it. You'll understand." I didn't ask what it was. I just nodded. His eyes closed again, his hand twitching once before going still. The monitor beeped softly, steady but faint. I left the room without looking back. That night, I went to the office. The building was quiet, the kind of silence that comes after the storm has taken everything worth breaking. I unlocked his desk, found the envelope, and sat down. Inside was a single document, his will. He had rewritten it days before he left the note. Everything, accounts, property, investments, transferred to me upon his death. At the bottom, in shaky handwriting, a final line read, "You were always stronger than I was willing to admit." I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't love. It was acknowledgement, the one thing he'd never given freely when he was alive and unbroken. Weeks passed. The company stabilized under my leadership. His debts were cleared, his name removed from every record. The media called it a quiet restructuring. No one asked questions, no one needed to. The people who once bowed to his charm now turned their attention to me, and for the first time, I didn't shrink under the light. One afternoon, Daniel called. "He passed this morning," he said gently. I exhaled, not in grief, but in release. "Thank you for letting me know. Do you want me to handle the arrangements?" "No," I said. "There won't be any." He made his choices. I've already made mine. That evening, I drove to the coast, the same stretch of road where his car had gone over. The sky was pale gray, the sea restless below. I parked near the barrier, stepped out, and let the wind hit my face. The crash site was marked by faint tire tracks and a few wilted flowers someone must have left. For a moment, I imagined him standing there before it happened. Maybe he'd realized what he'd lost. Maybe he thought there was still time to fix it. Or maybe he just couldn't face the reality that his power had never been his to begin with. I pulled the folded note from my pocket, the one he'd left on the kitchen counter weeks ago. I read it one last time. "I'm done. Don't try to contact me. You'll never survive without me." The wind caught it, tugging it from my hand. I let it go, watching as it spun upward before vanishing into the gray. He was wrong. I had survived. More than that, I had rebuilt. The sound of the waves below felt like a full stop to a sentence that had lingered too long. I turned, walked back to my car, and drove away without looking in the mirror. There was nothing left to see.